Hey guys, it's Varney and I'm doing a series of videos on pre-med things. So like getting into med school, the MCAT, I don't know, just anything you guys have questions about. Really what triggered me to start doing this is I was getting a lot of texts from friends and family asking about what it's like to be a med school applicant and asking for tips and things. And if you know me, I love to answer those questions and I think it's super fun. Don't ever feel like you're bugging me because I seriously love being there for other people and being a mentor. Yeah, so continue asking questions, texters. But I also thought it would be nice to do a video for everyone who wasn't texting me. I'm like, this maybe can be helpful to other people, but I don't know. So this is the video. This particular one is going to be on the MCAT. I think I skipped the blurb about myself, and maybe I didn't, in which case you're going to hear it twice, but I'm a current applicant for the fall 2018 med school application cycle. I'm currently doing interviews, which is a lot of fun, but also a lot of money. I majored in human physiology, and I am currently in my gap year doing work and family things and volunteering. So yeah, so let's go into the video. Okay, so I guess the first question I'd like to address is, what's the MCAT? And I think this is something that most of you guys have a good idea on, but I've gotten a lot of questions from high schoolers, so I think just to help them out, the MCAT is a test and it's really long. I just combined an E and an S together. How creative. It's a test and it's long, and basically what the purpose of it is it's kind of a way for administrators, or not administrators, but the people who are on the admissions board to look at you and make a judgment call on how good you are at taking tests. It's important, but it's not the most important thing. Really, there's a lot of different components to med school admissions, and so just to quickly go over those, even though that's, I guess, I'm gonna diverge a little. Okay, so I'm gonna diverge a little bit, and we're gonna talk about components of admissions. So the way I have perceived it up until now, after like doing all the essay writings and hoops and loops, there's the academics component, and that's going to be your GPA, and it's also going to be your MCAT, and then there is the U component. So this is composed of like what's your personality and what extracurriculars are you involved in. I think I can abbreviate that EC. So personality and extracurriculars kind of go with each other, but personality is also judged based off of how your essays are written and your interview. So in terms of extracurriculars, I get the question like, oh, what should I be doing when I get into college? And what I would say is explore. So you're gonna be a detective and you're looking for what you like to do. When I went into undergrad, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I kind of had a rough idea from high school of what I wanted to do, but really nothing was set in stone. So in terms of extracurriculars, I get the question like, oh, what should I be doing when I get into college? And what I would say is explore. So you're gonna be a detective and you're looking for what you like to do. When I went into undergrad, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I kind of had a rough idea from high school of what I wanted to do, but really nothing was set in stone. Basically, what I did is I just did whatever sounded cool to me. So I did what I liked, and over time I got to figure out like what I was passionate about and what I wasn't. And then really from there on, I just did more and more activities that fed into my passion. And for me, that was SEVA, which is the Sikh Principle of Service. So I did a lot of work with like I did some with Occupy Med, and I did some with there's the Hispanic migrant population. We do Dia de Salud, and I had this thing with the Gurdwara. So that's just my little side thing about extracurriculars. Okay, so now to address the big kahuna. That's a phrase, right? So when should I take the MCAT is what I'm going to talk about next. So you have two options. Well, actually you have lots of options, but I'm just going to go over two. So number one is no gap year. And then number two is one gap year. And basically, just a quick side note, what a gap year is it's time off from school between undergrad and medical education. And you can take as many gap years as you want or you feel are appropriate for you. Your decision to take a gap year or not take a gap year is something that's really personal, and it's going to be different for everyone. So these are the two different paths that I'm going to talk about today. Okay, so let's pretend that you're not taking a gap year. And let's say in 2017 you're a sophomore. In that case, or if you're Canadian, that's your second year in college. And so what I would recommend is you take your MCAT during these months. So you've just completed your sophomore year, and then I would say take the MCAT during one of those months. Alternatively, you could take it during one of these months, so aka during the year. So those are the two options, depending on how good you are at balancing multiple things at once, or depending how you study, like what's best for you. I'm more of this type of person, and I actually took my MCAT summer of my junior year, not sophomore year. So then, if we just go with this option, or really this works for either one, what I would recommend, or what I wish I had done, is I wish I would have spent my fall researching schools. So this would be your research month, and you figure out which schools you want to apply to, so that when it comes down to completing your AMCAS, you aren't wasting a whole bunch of money like I did. So research during these months, and then we can say that during the winter months you start preparing your personal statement, make a list of the activities that you're going to talk about, and this is like very flexible. You can kind of play around with that. And then in these months you're going to get letters of rec and keep working on these things, and then ideally in June you would submit. I didn't. Alright, and then just real quick to clarify, 2018 would be your third year, and 2019 would be your fourth year. So, so you submit, and then the rest of your summer will be spent doing secondaries. And then once you start your senior year, you're going to be interviewing, I'm just going to write I, and then over here all these months are going to be I's too. And then in April, this is like the very end of the cycle, so you will have a decision from the schools. But if you're waitlisted, they could even tell you you're in up until the very day before school starts, or even after school starts, I've heard. And schools will usually start end of July or beginning of August. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about gap year. And basically, this is going to look very similar to the no gap year one, except you shift over to summer of junior year instead of summer of sophomore year. And one thing you're also going to notice in that last section that I went over is applying to med school is really you need like a 3-year advance notice, kind of. Hi, mommy?
Grand opening sale. Only at Stephen Felicia. 2 locations to serve you.
मेरा ग्राहक होगा काम इंग्लिश में देखा कोल पोस्ट ऑफ की ना मैं तो मेरे पोस्ट ऑफिस गया खुशी हाँ
ਇਲਾਜ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਸ਼ੂਗਰ ਹੋਵੇ ਮੋਟਾਪਾ ਸਟ੍ਰੈਸ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਮਾਈਗ੍ਰੇਨ ਜਾਂ ਅਧਾਨ ਹੋਵੇ ਮਰਦਾਂ ਔਰਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਗੁਪਤ ਰੋਗ ਮਰਦਾਂ ਕਮਜ਼ੋਰੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਲਾਜ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ
मैं गई था वो ना मैं देखा पोस्ट ऑफिस अच्छा
ਬੈਂਕੋਵਰ ਕਲਾਥ ਹਾਊਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪਰਮਜੀਤ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ। ਬੈਂਕੋਵਰ ਕਲਾਥ ਹਾਊਸ ਦੀ ਗ੍ਰੈਂਡ ਓਪਨਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਹੀ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ। ਬੈਂਕੋਵਰ ਕਲਾਥ ਹਾਊਸ ਦੀ ਗ੍ਰੈਂਡ ਓਪਨਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਹੀ ਸ਼ਾਪਾਂ ਤੇ ਭਾਰੀ ਸੇਲ ਲੱਗ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਇਹ ਸੂਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸੋਹਣੇ ਕਢਾਈ ਵਾਲੇ ਸੂਟ ਗ੍ਰੈਂਡ ਓਪਨਿੰਗ ਸੇਲ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਸੂਟ ਸਿਰਫ $15 ਅਤੇ ਇਸ ਸੇਲ ਦਾ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਉਠਾਓ। ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।
Vancouver Cloth House.